As we all start with the new system called the nervous system, we need to understand nervous system in a detailed way by knowing what is neurophysiology, what's the development of brain, what are the different systems, how is nervous system organized in parts of the brain. As you all know, the living beings respond to changes in the external environment. The constantly changing surrounding poses a great threat to homeostasis. Internally, there will be changes to suit the alteration in the exterior. Various systems of the body are controlled by nervous and endocrine systems, as they called as drivers of the body. The regulatory mechanisms are together called neuroendocrine control. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. It's compared to a supercomputer. Our computer is not a suitable match for the amazing ability of the human brain. During evolution, there has been an increase in the number of neurons in the brain performing complex integrative functions. So, what's a functional anatomy? As you all know, it comprises of the neurons and the nervous system. Brain weighs around 1.5 kgs. The structures are located within the hard bony skull. It is divided into three parts. The prosencephalon, also called as the forebrain, which has telencephalon and diencephalon. The midbrain, which is the mesencephalon. The hindbrain, the rhombencephalon. So these are the parts of the brain, and they contain four interconnected cavities, the cerebral ventricles that contain CSF, the cerebrospinal fluid. So the prosencephalon, the forebrain, is divided into telencephalon and diencephalon. The telencephalon includes cerebral hemispheres, basal ganglia, which is important for planning and programming, hippocampus for the behavior, and amygdala. Diencephalon comprises thalamus, hypothalamus, metathalamus, and subthalamus. The hindbrain is made up of cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. So the forebrain, which is made up of telencephalon and diencephalon, consists of two cerebral hemispheres, also called as cerebrum, without a grey matter and inner white matter. They are connected to each other by the corpus callosum. The cortex of each hemisphere is divided into four lobes: the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, occipital, and temporal. The cerebral cortex, an area of grey matter which is around 3 mm thick, is highly folded. The subcortical nuclei, mainly the basal ganglia, form other areas of the grey matter that lie deep within the cerebral hemispheres. Diencephalon, of which upper two-thirds comprises the thalamus, which is the sensory relay station, and lower one-third comprises of hypothalamus, which connects with the pituitary gland. These are the lobes of the cortex in the left cerebral hemisphere, where you can see the frontal lobe, and the central sulcus divides into parietal and frontal lobe. The posterior most is the occipital lobe, and the lateral is the temporal lobe, which is concerned with hearing. The occipital is concerned with vision. Midbrain, which is divided into two parts by aqueduct of Sylvius, which is a duct which connects the third ventricle in the midbrain with the fourth ventricle in the pons and medulla. The ventral part is called the cerebral peduncle, which comprises the tegmentum, the substantia nigra, and basis pedunculi. The dorsal part, called as tectum, which constitutes two elevations, that is, superior and inferior colliculi. So you can see the tectum, the superior inferior colliculus. The hindbrain, which comprises the pons, medulla oblongata, cerebellum. The midbrain, pons, and medulla are together called as brainstem. The cranial nerves are situated in the brainstem. As you can see that the third and fourth cranial nerve is in the midbrain. The 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th is in the pons. The nuclei is in the pons. The 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th cranial nerves nuclei is in the medulla. So you can see how the aqueduct connect the 3rd and the 4th ventricle. The cerebral hemisphere, which can be seen. As you all know, if there is an obstruction, it can result in anencephaly and spina bifida. That was the functional anatomy of the brain. The nervous system is comprised of, is responsible for perceptions, which are the 5 senses. It's also important for behavior, memory, and any movement or any task. The 3 main functions of the nervous system are the sensory functions, the integrative function, and the motor function. The sensory or afferent, which carry information from the periphery to the brain, or the afferent neurons, from the peripheral nervous system to the central nervous system. The signals travel through both the cranial and spinal nerve. They detect stimuli, which can be either internally in the form of, it can be a blood acidity, or externally if there's a drop of rain on the arm. The integrative functions are mainly by the interneuron, which are short axons in CNS. They contact nearby neurons in the brain and spinal cord and ganglia. Most neurons are interneurons. They process information from afferent neurons by analyzing the information, storing the information, and finally deciding the appropriate response. So the afferent or sensory, whereas the efferent, that is, which carries information from the central nervous system to the peripheral nervous system, are motor. They respond to interneuron decisions. Cells responding are effectors, which can be either muscle fibers and glandular cells. So what's organization? The central nervous system is made up of brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system comprises of the cranial nerves, the spinal nerves, the spinal nerve branches, ganglion, sensory receptors. The central nervous system integrates and correlates incoming sensory information in the form of thought, emotion, and memories. They are mostly in the form of motor signals which originate in the central nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is divided into somatic nervous system, which is the motor portion under voluntary control, the autonomic nervous system, which is under involuntary control, which is further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic, and the enteric nervous system, which is mainly in the GIT. The somatic nervous system carries sensory input from somatic receptors, and it can have the motor control output, which can be either voluntarily controlled and carry impulses from central nervous system to the skeletal muscle only. The autonomic nervous systems, here the sensory input is from the autonomic receptors, and the motor output is to the smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands. The involuntary control is carry impulses to sympathetic division, performing the flight and fright response, and parasympathetic, which is anabolic, bringing all the effects returning to normal. The enteric nervous system is mainly where the sensory input is from the plexus of the GI tract, and the output to plexus of the GI tract. They innervate the smooth muscles, glands, and endocrine cells of GI tract, and they are mainly involuntary under control. So once you understand this, The cell bodies of the neurons group together in the CNS to form gray matter and the white matter, and the fibers form the white matter. So we need to understand the input reaches the brain through sensory receptors and sensory division of the nervous system. The brain acts as an information gathering, data analyzing, and decision making device. The useful information is stored as memory. The desired response is produced with the help of motor division of the nervous system. It results in the contraction of muscle and secretion from the gland. And eventually most of this response is initiated to the what is called as neurotransmitter. These are substances which may be present within the presynaptic neuron. The substances must be released in response to presynaptic depolarization, and the release must be calcium dependent. The specific receptors for the substance must be present on the postsynaptic cell for the neurotransmitters to act. They can be classified into amines. First is the acetylcholine, so the first neurotransmitter to be discussed by Otto Levy. And we have amines like dopamine, the norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, histamine. And the excitatory amino acids are glutamate and aspartate. The inhibitory amino acids are glycine, gamma aminobutyric, whereas the polypeptides are substance P, vasopressin, oxytocin, and endothelins. The purines are adenosine and ATP. The gases are nitric oxide, and the lipids finally are anandamide. Functionally, we classify them into somatic and visceral, as you all know, depending on the structures which it controls, and it can be recorded with PET scan fMRI, that is functional MRI. PET scan is positron emission tomography, or we use stimulation during surgeries and stereotactic. So how do we understand physiology, the neurophysiology? The basic physiology is understood on the basis of the general neurophysiology, which comprises the receptor, synapse, and the reflexes. Where you need to understand what is a receptor, it's a biological transducer. What is what is a synapse? Is it a functional connection or an anatomical connection? Or it's a contiguity? And what is reflex? It is monosynaptic with a single synapse or polysynaptic with many synapses. And what is the basis of reflex? And what are the components of reflex arc? The cerebral circulation and blood-brain barrier. Whereas the systemic, the information is carried by a collection of nerves, bundle of nerves called as tracts, which can be the sensory tracts, and the information is processed in the brain, and it is finally carried through the motor, through the descending tracts. So the ascending tracts are the dorsal column tracts and the anterior spinothalamic and lateral spinothalamic, whereas the motor are the corticospinal and the corticobulbar tracts. So we need to understand this in detail. This is also called as the pyramidal tract, and there are extrapyramidal tracts like tectospinal, vestibulospinal, rubrospinal. So all this are in detail expressed and taught to you. And regional wise, what is spinal cord, brainstem, diencephalon, limbic lobe, neocortex, and finally the applied aspect.